We've talked a great deal about how to retrieve data based on various conditions and combining data from different tables and so forth. But so far, with what we've learned about SQL, we have to rely on somebody else to give us all the data. We can't change it. We can't modify it. We can't add to it. We can't remove it. It's just there. A database that can't be changed is not terribly useful. So today, we're going to see what we can do to modify data. There are three basic operations to modifying the data stored in a database in SQL. Insert, which adds new rows to a table. Delete, which removes existing rows from a table. And update, which modifies the data stored in existing rows. So we're going to use a running example of the appointments table, which has an appointment ID, a patient ID, a doctor ID, and a date and a time for the appointment. Very simple version of an appointments table. Let's start with insertion. How do we add a new appointment? The insert statement has the following syntax. Insert into table name, some set of columns, which has to list all of the columns in the table, the values, value 1, value 2, and so forth, in the same order that the columns are specified. This will insert new rows into a table. Now, the column names have to match the schema of the table, and the values have to be of the right data types to match those columns. We're going to be talking about data types a little bit later when we talk about defining tables and so forth. But for now, suffice it to say numbers have to be numbers, strings have to be strings, and so forth. So for example, if we want to add a new appointment, we can say insert into appointments, appointment ID, patient ID, doctor ID, date and time. Values 123 for the new appointments ID, 101 for the patient ID, 201 for the doctor ID, and the date and the time being October 10th, 2023 at 2 p.m. The result will be we'll have all of the other data in the table still there, and we'll have a new row, 123, 101, 201, October 10th, 2 p.m., exactly as specified. That data is then added to the table. If you try to insert into a table data that doesn't match the schema of the table, it's an error. You can't do it. Similarly to insertion, we can also delete rows. Now, when we delete a row, you don't have to specify all of the data in the row. All you have to do is specify some condition, and every row that matches that condition will be deleted. So any condition that can go into a select statement can go here into a delete statement. So if, for example, we want to remove from the appointments table all appointments before January 1st, 2023. It's a somewhat artificial example, but it'll illustrate the point. We can say delete from appointments where date is less than 2023, January 1st. The condition is the same as you would see in a select statement, but instead of returning the data, it deletes the data. And all of those data will be removed from the table. Obviously, be very, very careful before executing a delete statement, because after the delete statement, the data will be gone. In addition to inserting new data and deleting existing data, we can also update data that's already in the table. Updating data requires two things. We need to specify which rows to update and how to update the values in the various fields in those rows. The syntax is as follows. Update table name, set column equals value for some set of columns and some set of values. The values obviously have to match the appropriate data types for those columns. So set column 1 equal value 1, column 2 equal value 2, as many as we would like. It will set those columns to those values in the rows that match the condition in the where clause. Where condition. So it will modify the values in those existing rows that match the condition to the values as specified. And those values could be computed from the values already in the data item. So here are a few examples. Suppose that we want to update the time of appointment 1 to be at 3 p.m. Update appointments, set time equals 3 p.m., where appointment ID equals 1. So we're selecting out a particular row with that appointment ID, updating its time to be 1500 or 3 p.m. We might want to say in our store, make the price of all of our electronics items 10% higher. We can say update products, set price equals price times 1.1, which is a computed value, computed from the current price, where the category equals electronics. So all rows where category equals electronics, the price will be updated to be 10% higher. We can update our users to say all users where their last login was before January 1st, 2022 should be set to be inactive. So we can set their status to be inactive if their last login is before January 1st, 2022. We might need to update a student's grade in a course. So look for the student grades where the student ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, that particular student. The course ID is Math 101, that particular course, and set their grade to be an A. And so on and so forth. We can set one value, we can set multiple values in a single statement, however we like to do. And notice that we can update the values of multiple rows in a single statement. When we set the price to be 10% higher for electronics, every single row whose category is electronics has its price updated to be 10% higher than its current price. So in sum, to modify data, we use the insert, delete, and update statements. They allow us to modify data. But always, very important, double check the condition that you're doing in a delete or an update statement before you execute the statement to make sure it's correct, because once you've deleted or modified the data, the only way you're going to get it back is from a backup. Be very, very careful. And if you use delete and update without a where clause, you will delete or update everything in the table. Don't make that mistake. And don't ask me how I know, but that's a mistake you never make more than once.